Hey there, and welcome to this video about Entity Framework Data Type Mapping, focusing on how to map MySQL data types to .NET types using the dotConnect Devart library. If you're using Entity Framework with a MySQL database, you may run into issues with data type mapping, as some MySQL data types don't have direct equivalents in .NET. This is where the dotConnect Devart library comes in. It provides a comprehensive set of data type mapping rules that allow you to seamlessly work with MySQL data types in your .NET applications. So, let's dive in and take a closer look at how this works. First, let's take a look at how to set up the dotConnect Devart library in your project. You'll need to add the Devart data.mysql.ef core and Devart data.mysql NuGet packages to your project, and then add a reference to the Devart data.mysql.ef core assembly in your project. Once you've got that set up, you can use the Fluent API to configure the data type mapping rules. Here's an example. In this example, we're configuring the mapping for an int 11 column in our MySQL database. We're using the hasColumnType method to specify the MySQL data type, and then we're using the hasColumnAnnotation method to specify the Devart-specific MySQL column type annotation. This tells Entity Framework to use the Devart data type mapping rules for this column. Now, let's take a look at some of the data type mapping rules provided by the Devart library. Here are a few examples. As you can see, the Devart library provides a wide range of mapping rules that cover most MySQL data types. If you encounter a data type that doesn't have a direct mapping, you can always create a custom mapping rule using the Fluent API or Web API. Sample project using Entity Framework data type mapping with Devart.Connect in ASP.NET Core Web API. Step 1. Install Devart.Connect. Install the Devart.Connect package by running the following command in the Package Manager console. Step 2. Create a Web API project. Create a new ASP.NET Core Web API project in Visual Studio by following the steps below. Step 3. Add a database connection. Add a database connection by following the steps below. Step 4. Configure Entity Framework. Configure Entity Framework by following the steps below. Step 5. Create an Entity Framework context. Create an Entity Framework context by following the steps below. Step 6. Create an Entity Framework entity. Create an Entity Framework entity by following the steps below. Step 7. Create a Web API controller. Create a Web API controller by following the steps below. Step 8. Implement the controller. Create a Web API controller by following the steps below. Step 9. Test the application. Run the application and test it by using a tool such as Postman or by sending HTTP requests directly from the browser. In summary, this sample project uses Entity Framework data type mapping with Devart.Connect in ASP.NET Core Web API by configuring the database connection, configuring Entity Framework, creating an Entity Framework context, creating an Entity Framework entity, and implementing a Web API controller. And that's it. With the dotConnect Devart library, you can easily map MySQL data types to .NET types and work with your MySQL database seamlessly in your .NET application using Entity Framework. Thank you for watching this video on Entity Framework data type mapping with MySQL and the dotConnect Devart library. We hope you found this information helpful. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comments section below.